Hello everyone, so I recently unlocked Pixie, and Pixie has been one of those cards that have been like on my list of priorities to unlock from coming back. Pixie was always one that I wanted to have, but it was more in a fun category, and I didn't think it was going to be incredibly consistent. And so I waited for a little while. I was able to pull it finally a couple of days ago, and I've been brewing with a couple of different Pixie ideas, and this one has worked so incredibly well. So instead of going like all in into like a Thor Beta Ray, you have the 0 cost in like a Wasp and a Yellow Jacket, which can become dead draws if you actually draw them. Instead, we're going to go with 1 cost cards because those are going to add value early game, they're going to add value late game. And if you end up hitting the Pixie, that is going to switch your 1 cost with hopefully a Sentry, so you can do Sentry plus Annihulus, Sentry plus Cersei on the last turn, is a lot of power to contest with. Sometimes you're going to get a 1 cost Red Hulk that can be used on the last turn alongside your Cersei to develop 2 different locations and 2 different lanes, and you're spitting out a ridiculous amount of power. You don't always have to have Mobius because a lot of times our mid-range cost is going to be about 3. The 1 cost cards would really be the main ones that you're going to have to worry about getting hit and not being playable. But Mobius definitely helps even out that curve for those potential downsides as well. It's just some games you're not going to need him even if you don't have him in hand. The rest of the deck is looking to do the Sentry into Annihilus or Sentry into Cersei style play. The 4 to 5 cost card upgrade with Cersei is really that sweet spot. It's where you get a lot of power and you have a lot of range and a lot of potential to get a huge amount of upside on your side of the board. And then of course we finish it off with the high power of Red Hulk. Being able to potentially curve out into like a 4, into a Cersei on 5, into just a Red Hulk sometimes will be enough to win games. We also have a few tech choices in Spider-Ham. Fantastic at ruining the opponent's ideal playline. You get a little bit of insight into what kind of deck they're running. So if you see an Odin, you know that you're expecting a lot of on reveals, a potential Namora setup. We have Iceman to disrupt that curve, potentially hitting a high impact resource that they're wanting to drop on curve that they no longer can. We also have the Nico, which is just such a flexible 1 cost card. And then our last kind of tech choice, Jeff is kind of like a staple in so many builds. He offers that flexibility and that maneuverability that you really need in a lot of situations. Our last major tech choice is Red Guardian. Red Guardian has so much value right now. If you're running into that deck that wants to run Iron Man alongside the Kitty Pryde, the Juggernaut, the Athena, Red Guardian is going to eat so incredibly well. If they're dropping their Wong onto a location, you can say, "That was Wong of you, we're going to Red Guardian, take it away." There's a couple of other really big resources that Red Guardian can target. A Luke Cage, you can look for targeting an opponent's Mobius to take that away so you can get your discounts where you wouldn't have been able to before. And there's a lot of flexible ways that he works in this build, and I think he is very, very strong. The deck still runs without him, but I'd be hard-pressed to find an equivalent replacement for him. And we're going to end the deck explanation there. But if you're seeing this, I am live right now on twitch.tv/TLSG Snap. We're going to be live all this week except for Thursday on twitch.tv. So we're going to be doing the launch of Arsham tomorrow. If you want to watch that live, see me brew different builds, see how it goes, definitely check out the live stream then. Today we're going to be doing some different fun builds. We're going to potentially be running this one alongside some other favorites as we count down Arisham's release. And so we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. Thank you guys as always for being here. I hope you guys enjoy. Expected. And so we have Cersei. Let's see what we end up hitting. The Falcon, it pulls back in our Demon, so we can reposition that if we want to. But our Red Hulk is 6, and so we have a hefty lead in the right lane. We get Stegoron, we get Giganto, huge value there. And then we could just be looking to pressure this left location or looking to pressure mid. Maybe we go Red Hulk plus Jeff and we give up in Castle Blackstone. Now, if they have Shang-Chi, of course we lose, but maybe we give it a shot. They do a double drop in mid, the Omega Red coming in, looking to add additional power to the left and to the right, and then the Snow Guard Bear. So a total of 13. We have the Red Hulk, we have the Jeff. We're going to lose less than they do. We win the right heavily thanks for the Cersei, and then we win mid thanks to the Red Hulk. We will gladly take the 4. That is a fantastic way to start it off. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Deep Thought. The first location being Nova Roma gives us our Mobius. We have the Pixie into Mobius line, which is so beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and play Hood to the left. We can always either Annihilus or Cersei that location. I'm going to go ahead and snap 1-1. You have the ideal Mobius line. We have a lot of we have several one-cost cards, and that is by design so that we can play a Sentry for 1 cost. We can play a Sentry plus an Annihulus on the last turn to put a lot of power into either the left lane, middle lane, and get some extra support into the right location. And so they have their Kitty Pryde that comes down. We dropped our Hood. Necrotia could help us get the Pixie and make it negative. That way we can eventually, with an Annihilus, send it their way in the Necrotia lane. I kind of like the idea. They have Ravonna, but with the Kitty Pryde Ravonna, it looks like it may be that very popular deck that runs the Athena as well. There's several versions of it floating around, but that Ravonna shell is very, very strong. Mobius does fantastic things against it. So I'm going to go ahead and play Mobius. I'm going to go ahead and play it into mid, actually, just in case we end up doing something like Cersei to the left. And they do go Athena, so if we have initiative here, or I guess if they don't play into Necrotia, we could potentially hit that with a Red Guardian, which is such good value for us. The 1-cost Annihilus is also diabolical. Let's go with a Red Guardian plus a Demon, and if we could snap again, we would. Knowing the opponent's deck gives us a lot of insight into how to play this one. We don't have initiative, but I think we might be able to grab the Red Guardian onto the Athena. We could also try to save it for their Iron Man, which is typically gonna come down. But I'm gonna use it for the Athena so that she can't continue to scale, because that scaling and that power engine is so impressive. It does so many high power plays and it's so flexible. If we draw a Sentry, then we can do Sentry plus Annihilus and kind of hopefully sneak away Death's Domain. But as far as right now, we don't have the means to do that. We could do... I almost think we do something like this. We go ahead and get rid of the negative cards. That would allow us to hit an Iceman and potentially disrupt their curve. And we're sending a negative card to the left and in mid to potentially elevate that clog factor. So they go Iron Man in the left location. We can't touch it. They can move the Nocturne out, most likely into Death's Domain. And then that would be putting them into playing a big card to the left to make sure that they overcome the power that we have there. Sentry. Did draw the Sentry, which is unfortunate. I kind of think the play is this. If they change Death's Domain, they could fight for there and here. But their big explosive power is typically Iron Man or Sage. So Sage right now would end up being 2, 4, 6, 8. 8. It ended up being 6. Victory. And even though we knew what we were up against, we had a good draw, we had a good hand, it's still really difficult to completely shut this one down. We got fortunate this time, but I think there's probably a couple of outs that they could have potentially had that could have allowed them to win. We'll gladly take the 2-cube retreat. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have J Broad, or JB Rod 01, one of the two. We have the ability to duplicate our next card with Nico, but I kind of like the idea of a little disruption with Iceman instead. We have Red Guardian, so depending on what they play, we can potentially counter that. So if they float Athena, we could potentially hit that. We do get Nico plus the Hood. So we're going to play Nico mid. We're going to destroy the Hood. We're just going to play it to the left for giggles. That's going to allow us to draw into additional cards. We're looking for Mobius. We're looking for Pixie. Or just our Annihilus, Sentry, Cersei stuff. And we, of course, have the Demon in that mix as well. So we get Sentry. They didn't play anything here as well. Sinister London becomes kind of scary. I'm going to go Singular Spider Ham. We're going to play Pixie to the left. We always have Sinister London like a double Jeff. We hit their Odin. So it's going to be some form of either ramp or just a solid on reveal that they're looking to stack those high impact plays. And so if it ends up being like a hazmat and they float loot cage somewhere, potentially we can come over the top of that. But I think we go ahead and play double Red Hulk. Sinister London is so big. And then for now, I think I'm going to play just a singular demon. I'm just going to hold it. I'm going to hold the singular demon for now. And so the double Red Hulk is going to be big, coming down on turn 4. The Brood with the Odin makes me think that this is more like Silver Surfer stuff, which is really interesting. Let's go Sentry here. Next turn, we can go Annihulus into whatever we want on the last turn. If they're just floating Wong, that's going to be the Wong decision that they could make. We'll be able to have the Red Guardian come in. What is that? That caps us out of the game. Unless we did this. Yeah, we can do this. Red Guardian is going to hit here. Here, we can move the Jeff over into like an Annihilus on the last turn. It's still going to trigger twice, though, which is going to be incredibly scary. We'll definitely want to be able to do, at bare minimum, an Annihilus. Or do they go ahead and... do they drop anything this turn onto the Wong? I think it'd be Wong to pass up this opportunity. Snap. We're going to snap into it. Taking out the Wong, if they go super greedy with like Mystique, that will be a pure mistake. They go one singular card into Sinister London. Let's see what they end up going with. We take away both of the Wongs, and we protect that middle location to make sure that second Red Guardian can't go there. They do go greedy with the Mystique. A double Silver Surfer may or may not get them what they need. So we were going to move Jeff over, play Annihilus into mid. That way we clear up that -8 from the Void in the right lane, and it most likely would be enough to win it for us, especially considering that they don't have those double on reveals or the quadruple that they were setting up. We'll gladly take it. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. Next up, we have Quack. And if you're going to be running that avatar, a name like Quack makes sense. We're going to go ahead and play Iceman. We're looking to draw into Pixie. That would be the perfect curve. We'd have the 2, 3, we have 4 into 5 being the Cersei, and we could go from there. So Kingpin tells me this is going to be a really disruptive deck. They're going to want to move our stuff around quite often. We do draw the Pixie, so let's go ahead and we'll snap into that. Miniaturized Lab is also really unfortunate for a move and move disrupt style deck because it's not going to give them much space to do what they want to do. And so we do have the Mobius. The Pixie into Mobius curve is going to be phenomenal value. And then we could potentially get a 1-cost Red Hulk, 1-cost Annihilus. So many really potentially cool things we can do. I am going to go ahead and play... No, I'm going to play Mobius to the left. As much as I want to play it into Muir Island, I think it makes more sense. The Debris is scary, diabolical. Let's go Sentry here. That's going to put a negative Void here. We do have the Cersei follow-up. We have a 1-cost Jeff, which is okay. I want to make sure that the left lane is protected from something like Polaris, something like Green Goblin, something like Titania, and that's why we're going to be playing our Sentry over there. Now, they could do a White Widow plus a Titania here, but it gets really interesting really fast. They do go with the White Widow, and we block it with the Sentry play. Thank goodness. Thank goodness we had the foresight to do that. The Void comes down. Let's go with... I kind of want to somehow get Spider-Ham going, but we're going to go ahead and play a Cersei that changes the Void. That way we can get some benefit in that right lane. And then we have a hopefully explosive last turn play. Hopefully we can do like a Gamora plus a 1-cost Red Hulk. That would make my evening complete. And really, it was kind of silly of them to play Hazmat, because then if we had Annihilus, we send them the Rock in the left, we send them the Void, and where they were looking to clutter us, we would clutter them. The 1 card in the left being Doc Ock, beautiful play. Really big. The potential Cannonball becomes really scary. We could also maybe steal it away with an Annihulus. So Annihilus is going to send them -1, bring them to 10. It brings us to 11. So we play the good old Uno reverse on them. And I feel like we need to explore it. They could also be looking to do like Magneto into mid to pull some of our cards over. It would pull Sentry and Mobius. And if so, then I think we just win mid. It'd be 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, we wouldn't. Maybe it looks something like this. The cannonball to the right is going to push our the Mockingbird over perfectly fine. We win that with the Annihilus. The Annihilus is going to send the negative rock from their hazmat, giving that good Uno reverse in the hub. We end up reversing that location and that favorability. We will, oh, sorry, Quack. I didn't mean to Spider-Man point you. I meant to do the fist bump. I'm not going to do the fist bump now. I didn't mean, I feel bad. I didn't mean to Spider-Man point you, Quack. We pull the Uno reverse on the hub location, giving us the win by 1 instead of them, and that allows us to focus fire into one location, and then the cannonball is not going to be enough. We'll grab the 4. Let's jump over into the next one. All right. Next up, we have Bring 77, and hopefully they bring us some fortunate luck, some fortunate RNG, so that we can top deck the Pixie here into... Okay, well, we tried. I was going to say into the Mobius next turn, but it's all right. We have Jeff. They're going to bring us some good Aunt May's luck, and Jeff is going to bounce over into Castle Blackstone, which it looks like no such luck there as well. Unfortunately, we can always move him over, but that seems like a wasted move. We do get Mobius, which would get canceled out by the Echo. We could do Red Guardian, but with the Echo, I'm thinking they're wanting to set up a potential like Wong play. I don't think that'd be the Wong assumption. The Nocturne comes down. This looks like maybe the One Piece deck. I featured a One Piece deck recently. Space Throne becomes really interesting. They can move their Nocturne out, but with them having potentially a Namora, I'm not sure that that's fantastic. We can move our Jeff out. Annihilus could clear up the negative void. I'm just going to leave Jeff. We're going to take away the downside of Sentry. Supergiant is going to be super interesting. So Castle Blackstone gives us 6 energy. We have to really be mindful of the fact that they could do a Negasonic and take away whatever we play this turn. I think we're doing something like this. Next turn, wait, they were able to stage a card in with Nocturne? It has to be Jeff, right? So when they move Nocturne, they're not going to be able to play another card here. Or if they move Nocturne out, I guess. I think this is the line we go with, and then we'll see. So they do move Nocturne. They drop another card in mid and another card to the left. Eternal's Arc comes down. This is definitely feeling like overkill in the Cosmo. The Negasonic comes in. It's going to clear our Iceman. We didn't have a lot of pressure on that one. Red Guardian is blocked by the Cosmo. Unfortunately, it's countered. We have the Spider Ham that is countered by the Gladiator. And it comes down to a point differential, which we are able to hold down because of the big Red Hulk. The Negasonic, knowing that that is a very popular follow-up to the Supergiant line, I wanted to put enough cards on the board that they weren't sure where she would have value. And so by doing that, we were able to luckily find a decent way to bring home a win. Had they played Negasonic over here, it would have been a lot closer. They would have destroyed our Red Guardian, but they wouldn't have had the 8-power Gladiator. It would be really interesting, but it's always hard to navigate that last turn of Supergiant. We'll take the 2 where we can. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Infallible Parry. The first location is the Valley of the Hand. We have our Hood, Annihulus, Cersei. I think we start with Spider-Ham. We get some information about what kind of deck they're running and just kind of let that rip. The Electra. I haven't seen an Electra in such a long time that is a wild card to have. I honestly couldn't tell you the last time I saw Electra being played out. Even in like a zoo deck, it's typically an indicator of a pretty low collection level, or just something that somebody that doesn't... You don't get a lot of value from Electra very often. So they go ahead and play their Electra, or what was Electra, into the right lane. Interestingly enough. We do get Pixie. It's a turn late, but better late than never. I'm going to go Pixie into the right lane. That allows us to draw an additional card. So we're going to draw an immediately... We won't be able to draw an immediately Pixied card. It'll be after the fact. But we have 2/1 costs in our deck, so we could potentially get a cheap Mobius. A cheap Sentry would be really cool. A 1-cost Sentry into like a Sentry plus Annihilus or Sentry plus Cersei is such a big amount of power. So Ironheart comes down on 2. I'm really concerned. I'm really confused. But this feels like a we have to snap type of situation. I'm going to play Jeff. Our next turn, we're looking at doing probably Cersei to the right, unless we draw the Sentry. If we get the 1-cost Sentry, then we'll kind of pivot. So Iceman hits our Annihilus, which is unfortunate. Red Guardian immediately hits our Jeff, which is also very unfortunate. We get Mobius, but it's not going to do us much good. Let's go ahead and play Cersei to the right. We're going to hope for a Red Hulk pull in. That would be ideal. The White Tiger, if this pulls into Odin, out of their 3 cards in hand, I'm going to be so bad. Oh, Shang-Chi. Okay. So they're locked in at 7 power mid, which is really quite awful. I mean, we get the Black Swan upgrade, which gives us the ability to do Iceman into Red Hulk into Nico. We don't have a way to buff this up, right? Maybe we go Nico left, just in case. 9. All right. Victory. The Cersei absolutely saved us. Otherwise, it looked kind of clunky, but we had a really big Red Hulk plus the maneuverability of Black Swan, which they shouldn't have been able to anticipate because it was a random card. We will take the 2. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have the Goat Seeker. The first location is Murder World, and we have both Pixie and Mobius, and so we're going to have a fantastic curve. The Thanos ends up getting hit, so he's going to be stuck at a 5-cost 10 power, even if they get all of their stones played. And Subterranean is so unfortunate for a Thanos deck because they are so reliant on that draw. So, I mean, I guess they could have Mind Stone, but then their hand can still become bricked very, very easily. And we have the ideal draw. Had I not roped them on turn number 1, seeing the Pixie plus Mobius, we would have snapped on turn number 1. But Pixie comes down. They stick it out for the 2 cube wager. The left location, they have a couple of cards. They could be looking to do Reality Stone in the left. Potentially. I'm going to play Mobius into mid. We want to make sure that that does not get destroyed. And then we'll kind of play it out from there. We have the left lane we'll be able to invest into. Ooh, so they have a Mobius of their own. So we're not going to get the downside, but we're not going to get the upside either. And so Mobius kind of brings it back to flat. Unless we have initiative going to this turn. We can take out their Mobius with our Red Guardian, which is going to be beautiful. The rock is unfortunate. Or is it? I mean, we can change that rock into a buffed up demon. We're going to go Red Guardian and then Nico. That's that's kind of setting the tone or staging for our rock to come in at that demon stage next turn. We're going to take out their Mobius because I want some potential discount on our cards. If we draw them, we may not with the additional cards from Subterranea. So they go rock into the right lane. Red Guardian just throwing it into the left. They could have used it to take out our Mobius, but I guess our Mobius doesn't... I don't know. They could have. They probably should have as well. Let's go rock to the left. And we have a 2-cost Cersei. So as long as we draw something we can play into Rickety Bridge, then I think we might be able to pressure them. Unless they have Reality Stone and they just haven't used it. Ah, that's the rock. So Reality Stone in the right lane could win them the Rickety Bridge every single time. And then they're just focusing on like Murder World. So if that's the case, we lose our cubes. The Cersei play, is it worth the risk or the potential upside? Right now we have the guaranteed 13. No, we need the extra. We needed the extra energy for the rock. Okay, so Reality Stone loses us the pig in the left, and then Power Stone. Interesting. Okay, so we have a chance if we can win by more than 7. Then we'd be able to win the point differential. We get pretty fortunate in the Hope Summers, the Proxima, the Shang-Chi, and Cersei, and so we are able to hold that one home. Had that been the Reality Stone on the right, we were absolutely cooked, but it was one of those risk-reward. They hadn't had a lot of draw. They had Subterranean mixing rocks into their deck, and so it was a educated risk, and so we will take it when it works. We'll take it when it doesn't, but it's a risk I would take every single time. We'll take the 4. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have a single sign-on 228 BBL SSO. I'm not going to pretend to know what that means. But what I am going to pretend to do is see this fantastic curve. It's not going to be a pretend. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. We have the Pixie. We have the Mobius. Let's go ahead and snap into it. We do have a little bit of constricted space in the Savage Land, but I'm very happy with this opening hand. It's hard to retreat on turn number 1. I've seen people do it, but it's such a hard thing to do, especially if you have a halfway decent hand that you're looking at. So they have the Hood in the right lane. I'd be curious to know what kind of deck they're running. It could be Annihulus. That could be why they're staging it. It could also be Cersei that we're looking at. But I'm going to stage our Pixie to the right as well. That sets up a potentially really good Cersei line, upgrading the Ant-Man, or the Iceman, the Pixie, and then the Negative Void. The Sentry is always going to get moved into the middle location, so Astronym. They have Cord. Interesting. Friend found a rock. The last location is Miniaturized Lab, so no downside from Sentry anymore, which is okay for us. Let's go Mobius. He's going to pull into mid regardless, so we might as well drop him there. And that gives us the Spider Ham back, and we're no longer going to have Astronym. Nocturne ends up changing it into like Hellas, which gives their Korg a bonus, unfortunately. We have Hood, Spider Ham, Jeff if we wanted to. I think I'm just going to go Sentry here. We're okay with not having that downside or potentially upside in the right. The Mobius, unfortunately, does get Red Guardianed, and so we're not going to have the Spider Ham anymore. We should have used it while we could. We get the cheap Cersei, so always going to be a good kind of backup line for us to potentially use. We'll keep that handy in our back pocket. That, I'm guessing, is what flipped with maybe Spider Ham. I am going to go ahead and play our Hood out. That we have Demon at the very least. We can always Cersei in that left lane if we need to. They go 1 card over there. We have our Hood. We're still looking at a potential Annihilus from them. The Hawk. Oof. That could be a potentially really big Hawk depending on this last turn. So we get a regularly costed... We get a regular cost for our Annihilus. We don't have initiative. So I think we go something like... I think we go something like this. Demon mid is going to be 8 power, so that gives us a decent little bump here. We can always move Jeff over, but unless they address the negative Hood over there, we're going to hope that Cersei gives us some decent 2-cost cards. There's a lot of trolls in there that we could get Beast, we could get Carnage, but we are going to put good vibes out that we're going to get at least enough to match this 13 power play, or more if they end up going bigger. So they move the Nocturne over and drop 1 card in the right lane. which does end up being Annihulus. So they were looking to send their negative junk our way. We have the Cersei in the left lane, which is going to push us up to 16, which is all that we needed. We win left, we win mid. We will gladly take that, the 4 cubes where we can against the, looks like junk Hawk deck. But I'm glad that we were able to grab the 4. This is a really good turnout. It could have been so much worse. This is probably a little bit above average. But there's also those trolls in there like Carnage that could have absolutely ruined our day. We'll take it. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have the Goat Seeker, which I think we ran into them just a little while ago. The first location is Titan. We have our Spider Ham. I'm going to go ahead and play him. We get some decent value and some insight into the opponent's deck from the Spider Ham. And we want several 1-cost cards in this build to offset the higher cost cards. So that if we end up playing Pixie, we want to be able to get a 1-cost alongside like a Cersei or something similar. So we do hit the Thanos once again with Spider Ham. It's guaranteed to hit every single time. So they're not going to be able to get a discount. They're not going to be able to double up his power. It just becomes very congested and clunky very quickly. I'm going to go ahead and play Nico. And just about anything that we draw next turn should be able to be playable. The only exception would be Red Hulk. And if so, we have a really awful curve. So Pixie is not going to be bad. Let's play Pixie to the right. And then we have the Sentry Cersei Annihulus line. So we're just looking to hopefully hit one of our 2 1-costs onto one of these high-impact plays. So Red Hulk would be ideal, but even just like a Red Guardian at 1 cost could be pretty promising. And so Sentry is going to give us a lot of... It sets it to 2, so Red Guardian hit Jeff. But Titan reduces it down to 6, or down to 1. I know that we need to get Red Hulk on the board. Because they could have Mobius. Mobius is really, really common in this Thanos build. I'm going to hope that they don't have it, and I just can't play it off curve. I can't play the Red Hulk for 1 cost when we have other board developing plays that we could go with. And so we could go with the Annihilus line, push the negative void into their lane. We could also go with Cersei. Let's go Cersei. That always allows us to clear a negative card if for some reason we have it with the Red Hulk Annihilus on the next turn. But I do like the idea of upgrading one of these. They go Blob, which is going to be unmovable, which is I think going to be important to note. So ongoing, it can't be moved. It's not going to be able to move over into the left lane. And so we can go something like this that brings us to 17 in this lane. Brings us to 20 in this lane, 21 in this lane. And then we have the Red Hulk and Annihilus to the left. I'm going to move the pig instead. If that extra 3 power in this left lane does it for us, we are going to celebrate. So let's go with a 1-cost Red Hulk, which is going to be so surprising. And that's going to be the power. Ooh, Magneto is a lot. Which is going to be the power of like a Pixie style build, is that you can sometimes have just that play that they just can't match with. We were able to come over the top of both the Thanos pig and Magneto in the left lane by having the very cheap 1-cost Red Hulk that just absolutely can devour games. We will gladly take it. And that is where we're going to go ahead and end the video. Thank you guys as always for being here. This has been TLSG. Later, guys.